Um, Drew, thanks for joining. I think this will be fun. We'll talk a little bit about like the launch that we have that actually went live yesterday. But I want to spend much more time talking about like your background and PostPilot and like obviously happy to share our side as well. To get going, I was hoping you could introduce yourself, but maybe slightly more with an origin story too, because like you're Karma Loop, you're at all these companies that I know and respect and like maybe loved at different stages of my life, and would love to hear a little bit of origin story of PostPilot as well.
Yeah, sure. My name's Drew Sanoki, kind of a Cinderella story. I got I got involved in e-commerce in 2000 when I first started my first dropship brand then out of the GSB there in your neck of the woods.
Drew, that's a safety school. Berkeley is it's
Right, right. Well, this was 2000. If you remember, there was a big dot-com bust then. Like we all went to iVillage and pets.com, and then 6 months afterwards, everybody was unemployed. So I was like, what can I do with my life? I was into furniture, so I opened up Dreamweaver. I coded a website and started selling furniture. It was an early drop shipper, and I grew that. That was in San Francisco for about 10 years. I sold it to probably 8 years. Sold it to a private investment group, and then it's around when I got married and had kids and had to do a little risk off, different kind of tack in my career, and I started doing working with private equity. I figured, okay, this is really interesting. I can do the same thing I would do as an entrepreneur, but I could do it with private equity backing. And in that context, um, helped a few funds either acquire or deal with a property that they had inherited. Um, Karmaloop was one. The next one was Auto Anything. So these are $100 million revenue brands that were typically losing 10 or more. So they're all turnarounds. And I'd go in and help kind of right the ship, get them profitable again, and exit those businesses. So I did that for probably another 10 years. And in that context, um, I think I got really good at turnarounds, but I also had to use direct mail because we'd go into these brands and you'd find direct mail was one of the secrets to how we turn these businesses around. You'd go in, you'd find 5 million people on the email list, only 10% are opening emails. So hey, it's a very rich audience. But these people have either unsubscribed or never subscribed. Let's flip a lot of our offers into direct mail, and we can now hit the whole list. So that was always a quick win. It was always hard to do. I don't know if you've done direct mail campaigns yourself, but in the old days, like 10 years ago, you had to find a printer and put a campaign together, and you'd launch it, and maybe like months afterwards, kind of remember to figure out how it did and try to back into how it did. It wasn't seamlessly integrated with a platform like Shopify. So, going back 5 years, this was kind of when like Klaviyo blew up and Attentive and all these SMS players. And it was like, well, we got to build like a Klaviyo for postcards, which was kind of the genesis, the first idea. I want to be stupid simple, like plug into my ecom stack, pull customer data, enable us to send campaigns. I don't want to source paper or figure out a printer. And then I want all the attribution to happen there too, so I can see how it did. I want to be able to automate these campaigns. And that was the genesis of PostPilot. So we actually bought PostPilot off the developer had built a little app that printed and sent thank you cards after an order. But we liked that. We liked the Shopify App Store placement. So we built that. He became our CTO and spent about a year on the product before we launched. And that was 2018, I think, when we first started.
That's awesome. Before we get too deep into PostPilot, did you always want to be an entrepreneur? Did you stumble into commerce, like you kind of mentioned in passing? You were into furniture, so that's where you went.
Yeah, I think I did. My dad was an entrepreneur.
Oh, cool.
I grew up, I just think, I worked at companies like Goldman Sachs for a while and just never I always found I was looking at the clock, like I just
Yeah,
can't wait to get out of here. So I had a very strong independent streak and I always wanted to be an entrepreneur.
I love it. So my background, slightly less decorated, consulting, MBA. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I always thought about it as like, you get a Subway franchise, you cash flow, you get another one, you get like a laundromat, and you
Right.
go that way. And in retrospect, growing up in Cleveland, we were actually surrounded by a bunch of entrepreneurs. Like we knew the Joanne Fabrics family and a steel company family and like the IMG founders. And like I knew a lot. I just never processed, oh, you could go build something that way. And I certainly never processed high tech startups and building for scale. And then I went to Berkeley and then out of it, I started a brand in passing. It was meant to be a 3-month project. It turned into 7 years full time. But you mentioned like print on demand. It was a print on demand watch company where we eventually got to the point of we would print watches in San
Wow.
Francisco. And then my favorite is still now our now 8 year old, where she's like as a baby, and sorry I know this is a little fuzzy, but like she's giving me the middle finger, right?
Yep.
Like as a 3 month old. And so like you could do that. We did sports licensing, we did corporate gifting, we partnered with Custom Ink and Zazzle, like all the print on demand shops. So like
Right.
and we started doing influencer stuff. And it was awesome, but it was definitely the type of business where we had a lot of good channels. And this was my number one failing, I think, as a founder, is like not saying that's all nice, but focus on one. So obviously, like a pretty important lesson. But yeah, man, I love the print on demand space.
Yeah. It's fun and there's nothing that beats getting something in the mail,
I
you
know it's
know?
pretty cool. Actually, I was telling somebody on our team, I bought one of our email customers is Revival Rugs, who's one of your customers, and I bought a rug right around holiday, which I unsubscribe from everything, which is hilarious. But like I just like I feel overwhelmed all the time unless it's like really hitting me at the right time with the right
Right.
content. It's like I want to simplify my life right now. But this postcard was just on our kitchen table, and I was like, "This looks good." And there was a small discount, and I was like, "Let's do it." And I just bought it that same day from the
You and
cart.
me both. I think I've got like 3 Revival rugs in our
It's so
house
funny.
now.
I
It's
mean, that's awesome.
the Peloton guy started
Yeah.
the
Oh, I didn't
yeah.
realize that. That's so cool. I
Yeah.
love that brand. It's a really nice team too. Um, Yeah, but then I think I got the tech bug, and so I started a company called Passport that does international shipping, and then I was a president at Loop Returns for a little bit, and then I thought I was done, just like advising and investing and doing a lot with kind of all around the ecosystem,
Do
and
you
then
do you like software better or running a brand better?
man, it's really interesting. Last year, when I was trying to figure out what to do, we have a friend who's this incredible chef based in Thailand, and she started a chili crisp business. It's called Chili
Hmm.
Nut Crunch. The brand name is Watana, and it's incredible. And I spent a lot of time with her as a unpaid, no advisor share. I was like, I don't want anything. I just want to go back and feel building a brand and like the personal touch. I mean, I still like in the cabinets behind me. We wrote a handwritten note card to every single one of our customers for the entire life of the business. Hey, thanks so much. And the original idea was like, I want people to tell me why we suck so we can get that feedback. But then, you'll get a note from somebody like, wow, this is an incredible Christmas gift. Thank you. Like I was able to give, my mother-in-law this gift of like a picture of the grandchild. And I deeply miss running a brand. It is hard. It's all the things. But like in terms of the gratification, like I love what we do with Orita because we help our brands get more out of their list, right? Like we're a data science team and we're like, we'll help you figure out when does Drew want to hear from you, yes or no. And to date it's been email, now it's direct mail, and eventually it'll be SMS. But it's still like the brand that gets the satisfaction of Drew making a purchase and Drew being like, man, I love this
Sure.
product. And so I love that we get to empower all these brands, but I definitely like, I mean, all the gray is from the brand side, so I should be careful with
Yeah.
it.
Same. It's much more stressful over there, but
Yeah, man. Well, we are excited to partner with you. I want to pull up slides for a couple of minutes,
let's
no
do
more
it.
than a couple of minutes. And I think maybe you can go slightly deeper into, sorry, bear with me, into what you guys do and who you serve, and we'll kind of go that way. But let me just flip back to this, just like people have some visual that they can see about you guys.
This is PostPilot. So we do excuse me, we started with that sort of Klaviyo for direct mail use case, which is more on the retention side. So if you have a customer and you want to automate a post-purchase flow, a win back, anything that happens after the initial transaction. You know, the customer bought the sweater, sell her the jeans. We started there. And then we layered on retargeting. So you can put a pixel on your site. We correlate 30%, 40% of your cold traffic to a physical address, and we can print and send a piece of print collateral. And then most recently, we've built out an audience product that allows you to do prospecting. So that's very similar to Facebook or Meta. You know, you do a lookalike off your best customers, we generate a new audience, and you can prospect to it. So I like to say we do the whole funnel. It's not just postcards, it's postcards. We do catalogs, we do handwritten notes, you mentioned. And the experience is very much like any other, you know, Klaviyo or Attentive or any other Shopify app where you essentially add this to your e-commerce stack and you get all the reporting and creation and design and everything can happen in the app, the tracking. So yeah, that's PostPilot.
I know there's so much more there. I'm going to put through a couple of pieces of collateral too, so people can see. Why don't I just flip now so everybody can get a look, right? There's obviously the cards, and you can add custom discount codes. There's, like with Koyo, we did a 6-page catalog, right?
Yeah, you can do a lot of customization. I mean, if you think of these, think of them like an email, you know, where you can drag little personalization
Yeah.
logic onto the card. You know, it can be
Yeah.
the name of the recipient or what they purchased before, or
Yeah.
unique coupon code pulled from Shopify, so it
Yeah.
doesn't get pushed onto a coupon site. A lot of brands like to use QR codes,
Yeah.
so that all can go on the card. I think some of the magic is in the attribution. We always recommend, you know, we recommend holdout groups, which I think is the gold standard because a lot of brands will focus in on coupon redemptions. But
Yeah.
what we've seen, and from talking to other people in direct mail, you know, they underestimate the impact of a promotion. So you might
Yeah.
see 20% coupon redemptions, when actually what you should be looking at is like, we know this entire universe of households got the promotion. Here's what they did later on my site, and
I love it.
and a lot of people will see a promotion, see a coupon code, and respond to that even if they don't actually redeem the coupon code. It's irrational, but it happens. So we recommend holdout groups or use of control groups. You know, where you carve out, you create a segment. Say, okay, this is these are my 5-time buyers, or these people have spent over $1,000 with me. I'm going to create the whole segment, and say it's 100,000 people. We're going to pull out a random 10,000 people that don't get the campaign. You know, the holdout, the test group, and the control group both get your email campaigns. They may both see your Facebook ads. They may both see your billboards, whatever. The only thing you could attribute the lift to would be the postcard campaign or the direct mail campaign. So that's how a control group works.
Yeah. I love it. Well, we obviously do a lot of that, so I'll walk in a little bit our take on that as well.
I saw that. It's sort of the gold standard, right? I mean, I wish everything did it.
I'm useless, man. I'm a history major and an MBA, but my co-founders are both ML engineers, and so if nothing else, we are going to be very, very good about proving out incrementality and saying like, hey, this drove revenue, it didn't. This drove contribution margin, it didn't.
Right.
Before I get maybe into the Arita stuff, is direct mail right for everybody? Is it like worth testing for everybody? Is there an AOV you think matters? Is it better for subscription brands? Like, where do you think is like the sweet spot?
Well, we typically see brands maybe 3-5 million of revenue and up is
Okay.
when they start to experiment with direct mail.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like the lowest hanging fruit for customer acquisition, for
Yeah.
example. Like if you're just starting a new brand, you set up your Shopify store, play around with Meta, you know, play around with whatever's like where you can iterate quickly and figure out that you have product market fit. It's only when brands start to sort of tap out that channel and have the resources to diversify their marketing a bit that they probably start they want to find a new channel that they can grow, and that typically is like 3-5 million and up in revenue.
Yeah.
We do see the brands that do better are higher AOV brands, especially I would say in acquisition. If you're selling a $20 item, it's probably not going to work as well, but apparel and furniture and brands like that where the AOVs are up over $100 work really well,
Cool.
especially on acquisition.
One thing that we've been hearing a lot is I think there's a renewed interest, in large part because performance marketing is getting more expensive. And so if it used to be you could go, run a Facebook ad and like get in front of a person for 10 cents, and now all of a sudden it's 40 cents, 50 cents, whatever it is. You actually start looking at other channels that can be, even if it's like
Right.
slightly more expensive, a better ROI and a better return. I don't know if you guys are seeing that also as like that mix
Oh
changes.
yeah. No, I feel like that's one of the tailwinds behind the channel.
Yeah.
And we knew that when we started the business. We're just like, there's a limited amount of inventory, digital ad inventory
Yeah.
on Meta, and there are an increasing number of brands bidding for that inventory. So the prices are, the costs are only going to go up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, when I got my start in e-commerce, I was paying pennies through AdWords, and now several dollars. And for that, you could actually send a catalog and put,
That's right.
100 of your products in it. So we've seen the channel become more competitive. Certainly, the USPS does increase the rates, but it's nowhere near
Yeah.
the rate of increase of Meta.
Yeah.
And that's a strong tailwind. The other one's privacy. You haven't brought up, but more and more of these different platforms are kind of locking down and making it harder to reach the customer. So it started with iOS 14 and 21. It made Facebook very hard on mobile device to track that. But just recently, I mean, I think Gmail just rolled out some new changes, or the new iOS that I updated to the other day, like made it harder to get into the inbox. So that's just going to keep happening.
True. Don't you know?
Um,
Never update the phone. Just let it.
yeah, I just got to get all my customers to do that, though,
That's
right?
right. Hey guys, just hold
Yeah,
on. Hold on. All right.
yeah. And there's
Um,
still that, people still perceive mail as a gift
yeah.
psychologically, like, and our kids still run to the mailbox to get the mail,
I love it.
and and it's all ads, it's all
Yeah. Yeah.
direct mail, but we still read it all,
Yeah.
so it tends to work.
I will send you a handwritten note, so it'll be more exciting. We got very lucky. One of my co-founders' good friends, Ben Semar, who's actually like a case study on the PostPilot site from Rock City
Yeah,
Labs.
yeah,
So he joined us 6 months ago to help stand up our direct mail approach. But he ran a retention agency, and so like he helps our
yep,
brand understand how to get more out of email than they could ever do, right, using our product. And so like he's the translation layer. But one of the things he always talks about is that like the open rate for direct mail is very, very, very high, right?
yeah,
You have to consider. I'm now looking at something. Am I throwing it out? Like I still get it where I get the bundle of stuff, and I'm like, there might be something from a bank. Like I literally need to. I don't just like throw it all out, right? And I think that like 90% open rate and like a couple seconds of consideration goes a very, very long way, especially like on top of just like the brand awareness is like it is increasing your addressable market because not everybody's buying from email or direct mail, or to your point, they might have unsubscribed at some point. So like you literally can't email them even if they're on your site every day.
right. You have to say, I don't know if the marketers think this way, but you don't need an opt-in to direct mail to send mail to somebody
Yeah,
in the U.S. You have to honor the opt-out,
of
but it's
course.
like the inverse of email.
Yeah,
So yeah, you can send direct mail to anybody, 99% deliverability to their house.
yeah,
Every once in a while someone moves and it bounces back, but
yeah.
that's really low. And then, as you mentioned, the open rates are almost 100%.
It's pretty good. All right, let me rattle through a couple things about us, but then I want to go back and I got some
Let's
more.
do it.
I
Sure.
want to put you on the spot, so I'll give you at least a minute break and kind of talk about Orita. On a super duper duper high level, we try to help brands get the absolute most out of their list. If you've got 1 million subscribers and you do a rule of thumb segmentation, you're probably over emailing people like within that segment, and you're also probably missing a bunch of people who might be really, really interested. They just may not have clicked an email in a while. And so within like the email product, and Klaviyo is obviously our biggest partner. We love those guys. Like our role to play is there's a brand, they use Klaviyo. Most of the bigger brands will use an agency too to help with like strategy and creative. So like we partner with I think like 70 or 80 agencies at this point, maybe more. And then our job is to be the calculator, right? We're like the machine learning platform where the output of what we do is we like you set an objective, we tell you who the list to send to, and we make it really, really simple. It lives in Klaviyo, and it's like, cool, Drew, your goal is to maximize click rate. We'll help you understand who is going to help you do that. You're struggling with deliverability, we can help you fix that. You just want to like crank top line, great. We'll give you like the people with screaming signal who are most engaged.
Right.
So that's like the founding, right? But the idea has always been, as we think about this, like we don't make more or less money if you send an incremental email, right? The idea is like, how do you help get the absolute most out of your list? And that might mean you make $1,000 less this week to make $2,000 more in a month, right? It's like, how do you build a profitable program? And so we kind of took the same approach with direct mail, where when we launched this and started to talk about it, people are like, oh, you're competing with PostPilot? I love those guys. And we're like, no. Like, we want to like leverage the heck out of PostPilot because you guys have built, you already walked through it all. I'm not going to like repitch it, but like you guys are amazing, right? And you make it dead simple for a brand to not only like send a card, but send a good looking card to the right people. Fine. And to have that flexibility of discounts and everything. The challenge for us is, okay, if something works, how do we hopefully supercharge it? And the spirit is exactly the same, which is like data science team, we're going to go much deeper into the segmentation. And so I just want to like walk through, and again, this is obviously illustrative, right? There's slightly more magic than this. But the way we work with brands is we think about two different phases. We think there's a testing phase, which is all about learning, and then there's a scale phase, which is all about building a repeatable, scalable process. The idea of that is increasing addressability, and across all of this is about incrementality, right? You mentioned it before, we feel the exact same way. If you could have sent and gotten a purchase without a discount, don't send the discount code, right? In theory, if you could have gotten the purchase without the postcard, don't send the postcard. Because our approach is much more like, yep, you might send fewer postcards today, but once you see the like actual incrementality, you'll start sending more over time, and it will be a core part of your marketing mix. How we think about the test, and this is like kind of our secret sauce, and I think the most important part, is we will build a representative sample of your customer base, and we will send to a subset of them, right? So it'll be like, here's your customer base, great. We're going to send to like, however we build that segmentation, right? To all these, like a subset of people in every single one of these blocks. And then what we do for a brand is within 2 weeks, we show a report. Within 30 days, we help them understand which are the contribution margin profitable segments, right? So you send 10,000 postcards to 100 segments. 40 of the segments are profitable, 60 aren't. What we then do is we send another 10,000 postcards to the 40 profitable segments and only to those profitable segments, right? The idea is like, if you start understanding who those segments are, you can rinse and repeat it, and then keep scaling. And so it goes from being a 10x ROI, right? Like everybody who uses you guys sees a good ROI. The question is, how do you, like, or our question is, how do you get even more fine-tuned, right? And send more cards to the best people. Excuse me. Drew, does that make sense on a high level?
No, it totally makes sense. We try to do that in, with our brands too, just within direct mail.
I love it. Then what we do is we build it repeatable. I just want to go through one quick case study because I think this really will hopefully like hammer home the point. Koyo, awesome footwear brand. They're in New York, so I don't know if you've met those guys, but I think Chris has not been a case study at 4 of my companies. I love them. I suckered him in at Passport as one of our first customers for cross-border shipping, and then at Loop and some of my advisees too. If you think about that testing phase, this is the send one and send two. The goal of send one, right? We're sending to the representative sample, is to learn. The goal is not to make a lot of money. It's nice to make money. We certainly don't want to lose you a ton of money, but like if we are plus or minus break even, but we learn, that is a very, very, very successful send. It's analogous to like any startup, right? Like the measure of progress is learning, right? More than that incremental sale. And then you go to send two, and you only send to the profitable segments. And 2 things happen. Number 1 is you hit your break even much faster.
Sure.
Right? And then number 2 is you start making a ton of money from it. And then you can build that into a repeatable process. What that looks like for us is it depends, right? And I know similarly for you guys, is like it's obviously led by the brand. We're working with one brand right now who has a fixed budget 200K over the course of the year, and they are like committed to sending postcards, and that's their budget. So then the question is, cool, how do we maximize those segments given their marketing calendar, right? Given holiday, given sales, given whatever it's going to be. Maybe that means you send a lot fewer in March, but you send a bunch in May because it's a summer brand, for example, right? So like the scale piece is, as we think about it, is like very much handheld because it's truly custom brand by brand. The testing phase is automated. And the idea for Orita, as we see it, is like Orita plus PostPilot, like it just works. You guys handle all the hard part of the infrastructure and the sending and like the design and etc. Right? And then our job is to basically either like partner with the agency if a brand is using an agency, or like kind of serve as that like segmentation team, that data science team, and help drive up profit from that. That's us. Not too much.
I love it.
Worth sharing. Yeah. So it's going well, man. We launched it very quietly, and then obviously proud to launch publicly with you guys yesterday and have this conversation.
Yeah. No, we're excited about it.
All right, I want to ask you a couple more questions about PostPilot and about you as an entrepreneur. And I don't know, you see a lot of other companies in the ecosystem. So my first question is, you're a co-CEO. What does that mean?
Yes.
I'm also a co-CEO. I'm now seeing more and more co-CEOs pop up. I'm curious how you guys think about it.
Do you see it down on is my name appearing to you? It says the real founder.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I see it.
Right there.
Yeah, I want to know more about that part too.
Yeah, it's because my co-founders has one's like co-founder and co-CEO. So I always try to outdo him and put the real founder, the real CEO on mine.
Okay.
I don't know that I would recommend it for if like a new company.
Yeah.
Like if you and some other person have some idea and you decide you're going to start a company, like I don't know that I would go the co-CEO route. And that's because I think my background, I was in the Navy, and I'm a believer in like the unified chain of command. And at the end of the day, probably one person has to make the decision. You move faster that way. Organizations are more effective. But in this case, my co-founder and I did all the private equity work together. We probably worked together for 15 years leading into this. I know him, love him. We've established that trust and kind of went all in on this together. And we do, but we're very sensitive to the co-CEO thing still. As I think it works for us. But we're always asking ourselves and asking the team, like, hey, is this a co-CEO issue here, or is this just another issue? We also try to, divide responsibilities pretty well. I'm more on the revenue side. He's more on the product and engineering side. So I think it works for us, but I don't know that it's like a universal thing I'd recommend.
Yeah. I think generally I would never recommend it as a starting spot for
Right.
a company. We had an interesting situation. So my co-founders, DB and Zach, are like brilliant ML engineers and awesome people and all the other stuff, right? But I was actually introduced to them as an advisor when they were switching from being a consulting business into a product business. And they closed the first dozen customers, and it was awesome, right? And the product was working. And so when we came in, my background is like, this is my fourth company. I can tell you like the good and the bad ones. But I went from being an advisor to they asked if I would join as a co-founder, and it was super exciting. And so what we did is we gave me the title president at the start, which is insane for a 3-person company. Like you don't need a CEO and president, but the spirit was I get to just go run around and do work and like figure out what's important, what's not. If like product is important one day, like I'm decent at every function besides engineering. Like that'd be the dumbest org for me to touch, even like to be in a room with.
Yeah.
But we got about a year in, and it was very clear that like we were both there, right? So 3 of us. Zach runs ML. If we ever become a public company, it's because of Zach, right? But like he is like we need him to not be distracted and just keep building, and like he's our like true differentiator in that org. It is like everything else is packaged around our ML. But for DB and I, it was like we were talking multiple times a day, and we figured that like when we aligned on something, we were moving much, much faster. And I wanted him to be in more go-to-market stuff, and for the team to know that like DB being there is not like you then have to check with Aaron. It's like 99 times out of 100, I'm going to agree with him, and like I don't care about the one I don't. Like we'll fix it, right? And
Yeah.
that's my product stuff. And so we moved to that like 4 months ago, which I think it's gone well. The one thing that we started do oh, go
You
ahead,
have
please.
two co
It's just the two
or
co-CEOs.
three.
Zach's our
Okay.
CTO. We were actually joking we should add another and just like create a job opening for a third co-CEO. I guess there's
Yeah.
no limit to what you could do. But one thing we started doing was actually having two-on-ones with our leadership team. So it's like both of us in the room just to like speed up the discussions. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, it's been awesome. Everybody's like, hey, what's the stressors? I'm like, there are zero stressors. I don't know if DB is angry, but he's like the nicest guy I've ever met. So I imagine he's doing okay too.
How big is the leadership team?
We're like 17 people as a business,
Yeah.
so like all the functional heads, right? So it's
Right.
like Ben runs strategy plus direct mail, Courtney runs sales, Emily runs customer success, Megan,
Yep.
BT, Kyle, right? So it's kind of like across board. Adrian, who's running marketing. Yeah, so it's more like everybody who we brought in is pretty senior. We have a lot of people who've like run very large orgs who
Right.
are basically starting as player coaches and slowly building their team. And then the building the team is obviously tied to, do we fundraise? Do we like, there's a lot of other constraints, I would say there.
Yep.
Yeah, man. All right. My only other question for you. Actually, a question popped up. So I'm going to ask you this. For a brand that is using PostPilot, and we just set up this brand on Orita, who determines who gets a message? PostPilot or Orita?
That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to
The brand determines, and this is actually from an awesome agency partner, eBusiness Pros. The brand or you guys would determine. The way that I would think about it is like, if you want us to build out the segmentation, right, which we would do in that example, and then figure out who's the most engaged audience, and then send it there. We will help make that choice. We always think about our job as like in service of the brands. Like some brands want to do everything soup to nuts, and they just want to like leverage our data or like kind of our strategy. Some brands don't want to touch creative, so they use you guys, or like we don't care ultimately. But yeah, for Patrick, for you guys, like we would just run it soup to nuts, and then like leverage PostPilot kind of under the hood. I think it would probably be the right approach. The one thing I did mention earlier, but like just to double click on what you said, is we also will run a holdout. So if we're doing 10,000 sends, we might pull a group of 15,000. We'll randomly pull 10,000. Of those 10,000 for brand wants, we'll split it between discount, not discount, and then really figure out, cool, is there incremental profit from having the discount or not? And is there incremental, like, did you actually make more sales because of sending those postcards? Like, what is the true incremental ROI? So
Yep.
that'll help with that. All right, my last questions for you. PostPilot's amazing, and I have no doubt that you see a bunch of other technology in the ecosystem, and I'm sure you get messaged by different private equity funds and all sorts of stuff. When you look around the commerce ecosystem, what are some of the big changes you see coming? Or if you think about what's PostPilot in a couple of years, like what's anything as you're thinking about like, yeah, kind of like the next evolution for you guys, or just kind of what can brands be looking forward to?
Well, we're staying core to Shopify and to
Okay.
e-commerce, right? Like we're really laser focused on that customer
Love it.
right now. And all of our use cases are use cases that we get from that customer. So brands increasingly want to use direct mail to drive people to store to purchase. We've got a product for that, to a brick and mortar store. We've got a shared mailer that allows brands to share the cost of a mailer, and it really gets the customer acquisition cost down. You know,
Would it
um,
be like that would be two brands on one or six brands on one when you say the share bin?
correct. Yeah, I don't have one around here now, but
No, it's
they
good.
look really cool.
Let me ask you a little bit about that. Do you guys make the marriage happen, or is it like people are bringing in their brands, or is it?
No, we make it happen. We might have one for expectant mothers in their third trimester, which is like a in our
Yeah,
database.
cool.
It's a very effective one, obviously, for pregnancy and baby gear companies. Um, but I think looking out the next couple of years, we really have a strong data business. One of the sort of surprises of this business is that we've built up this big data asset. I mean, in part it was we went out, and if you were J. Crew or if you're the Gap and you sent direct mail historically, you would go buy a data set
Mm.
from a big company, Epsilon, Axiom, Transamerica, there's Wyland, there's these big data brokers that sell you data. You buy your audience and then you drop the catalog to that audience. So one of the first things we did was we went and we bought all those data sets, the biggest ones, the best ones we could find. The first learning was like, hey, if we put them together, we're getting better results, more predictive results than anyone in particular. And then the second thing we realized is like we're the biggest direct mail player in e-commerce now. So we have a lot of data ourselves on U.S. households. And if we can inform this big data set with our own data, then we get it just increases the level of performance again. And so that's really interesting. Like if we're working on turning this into a viable alternative to Meta for prospecting. We call it acquisition AI. It's an always on, like, I want to get a 6x ROAS on my prospecting campaigns. And as long as you hit that, your budget's going to refresh every month. Or I think that's sort of the holy grail that we launched in beta last quarter. It worked really well, and we're kind of throwing gas on it this year.
I love it. We're looking forward to tapping into that with you guys. The conceit of Orita is you have a list today. How do you get the most out of it? The next step, obviously, okay, cool. How do we go help you understand at a more fine-tuned level, not just who is in your demo and who might be interested, but who's in your demo and might be interested and is receptive to this channel, right?
Yep.
Like that is a very big piece of it.
It's a key piece of data is direct mail responder data.
It's awesome.
And I feel like we've got that. And you layer that on top, and it's really predictive.
Yeah, this is cool. Well, Drew, thank you for your time. I am through the moon that we're partnering with you guys, and this has been really fun to learn a little bit more about your background too.
Yeah, Aaron, it was great to meet you, and look forward to working together with you guys.
All right, take care. Thanks.